Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Jason Collins, and welcome to the ninth episode of Bluegrass Race Hub. Here we are today recording on Monday instead of Sunday. I have my special guest host, Mikey Neal Jr. from the Cup Series. Go ahead, Mikey, introduce yourself.
Yeah, it's me again, Mikey Neal. I drive the number 8 Alex Huffman Designs Chevy Camaro in the Cup Series, and I'm back again for another podcast episode. I'm really excited.
Welcome back, everyone, to the ninth episode. As previously stated, we will kick this podcast off by starting out with the Kurt Busch retirement announcement. Go ahead and give us your thoughts on that, Mikey.
Yeah, the entire kind of situation is just, it's really unfortunate. Kurt definitely, at this point in his career, we knew that he was going to get to the end of his career. He's been racing in the NASCAR, top 2 series since really early 2000s. And the only other driver besides him that really, has been here since then has been Kevin Harvick.
Yep.
And so Kurt Busch has been in the sport for a really long time, and he'll continue to be in the sport for a really long time. But he had that massive crash at Pocono, knocked him out for a good chunk of the season, still out from it. And
right.
It's just really unfortunate. I think no one likes an early retirement, especially from injury, especially with these new cars. There's nothing really more than that. Kurt is he's a great guy, has a phenomenal statistics when you look at the 2004 Cup Series champion. He has a lot to his resume, and now I know he's going to be working with 23XI a lot in the future. He's been through a lot of teams in his career, so he's more experienced, and he always makes the team around him better. So We'll see how this kind of affects him, once he moves on, out of the car. But he did say that he's not fully retiring from the sport. He's just retiring from full-time competition. So we may see him back at a car soon. But I think for him, right now, it's good to kind of lay off, recover from the injury. And yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I know he said he's retiring from competition, full-time competition, but we already see that he's going to stick around. He's going to be involved. I know it's our other host that's normally here, Alex Healy. That's his man. That's his guy. That's his boy. He loves some Kurt Busch. So he was not happy to hear the news, and he would be here on this podcast had I actually not overslept last night or fell asleep on him last night. I was waiting on him to record last night, so I fell asleep. So I'm sorry about that, Alex. But I know you would have wanted to talk about this with because that's your boy. But it's unfortunate that did happen at Pocono, and it's forced him to possibly have to shut it down early, kind of like the junior situation. Obviously, that cut his career short. He would have probably stuck around for a few more years, if not still be racing, if the concussion situation hadn't presented itself. I don't know that that's exactly why Kurt is retiring. I'm sure it has a lot to do with it. There may be some other outside factors that I've heard about. I'm not going to touch base on those because they're just rumors. But they are some hot goss rumors. I will tell you that. I will give that much. But yeah, basically, I've heard some stuff about it from within the garage of NASCAR from another guy that works in the NASCAR garages. And, I don't want to give away too much on that. So I'm just going to go ahead and move on. But yeah, unfortunately, it's, sad to see a guy of his caliber going out with an injury, so to speak. If that's exactly what it was or wasn't, it's still either way, to say that it's because of the injury. Sorry. It's unfortunate, and I hate it for him. But moving on to Bubba Wallace versus Kyle Larson. What do you think about the way Bubba reacted last week, Mikey, and turned Larson after getting put to the fence?
Yeah. I'm all for retaliation. That's NASCAR. If someone bumps you, you bump them back. someone spins you, you spin them back. That's kind of how it works. But there are, I think certain boundaries when it comes, wrecking someone else. With the, how the cars have been this year, we just talked about Kurt Busch, going out with concussion, Alex Bowman, a few weeks ago at Texas, going out with concussion. I think everyone has been informed on the safety of these cars and how they're going to be fixing the rear clip of the car here sooner or later. So I think all the drivers are pretty aware that, it could be dangerous to be in a crash. So make sure, you get your head back in the seat and everything. And, coming off the corner, it looked like, Larson threw it in 3 wide with Kevin Harvick and Bubba Wallace. And looks like he kind of got a little bit loose on the bottom. I saw him start to slide up the track, never touched him, but slid up really close, put him in the wall. All Larson's fault. And I think Larson knew it too. That's Larson's fault. Even if he didn't touch him, he slid up, gave him really no room. And, the air kind of pushes you up into the wall. And then
I thought they actually made contact.
They may have made very, very slight contact, if any. But okay. It looked like there was still, when Bubba at least hit the wall, it looked like Larson had not really touched him. It was really, really close. But that air, anyways, would really push the car and throw it to the outside, anyways. So obviously, Bubba did not like it. And, he hooked it hard left into his right rear and turned him straight across the track at over 150 miles an hour. That right there is just not a thing that you should be doing with this car. Not a thing that you should do in general. Like I said, if you had went into turn 1 and pushed him up the track and maybe into the wall, that's understandable. That's at least probably the maximum I'd go with that, because that car's still salvageable. It was a pretty decent lick, but you can come back from that.
Oh yeah.
It looked like the tire, when the second it happened, the tire was still straight. So it maybe had knocked toe out a little bit, but it shouldn't have been. The toe link should have at least been somewhat fine, and it should have been fixable.
So looking at the incident just now again, I didn't see contact between them either. I see what you're saying now. He just ran him up and Bubba hits the wall. Then they make contact after Bubba hits the wall. I'm sorry, but you do not freaking right hook a driver in the right rear and put him, because what if Larson doesn't make contact with Bell, he's making driver side impact. 100%. He was headed towards driver side impact right there.
And he still did make significant contact with the left side of the car as well. And, you just can't do that, especially at a 1.5 mile track, like Martinsville's, whatever. We've seen drivers do it numerous times. And, the last suspension that we can look at, is 2015 with Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano, where Matt Kenseth got suspended 2 races for intentionally wrecking Joey Logano. Right. Intentional wrecks happen all the time. We could look a few weeks ago at Texas, William Byron and Denny Hamlin. William Byron, whether it was intentional or not, turned Denny Hamlin, but under caution. We see a lot of drivers get turned at slow speeds, but usually it's not towards a wall. Right. And when we look here, Bubba, I think in the moment, that wreck from the wall to turning Larson was less than 3 seconds. So it was an instinct for him to go, he put me in the wall, I'm turning dead left and hooking him across the track. And that's just a no-go right now with this car. It's really a no-go in general to right hook anyone at a 1.5 mile track. You just can't do that. You turn cars back into the traffic. You're turning them 150 miles an hour into the wall. And if we look at, even though it's Daytona, where if you get close to the wall and carry enough speed, that car's going to flip over, and that driver's door, when it hits the wall and it, at a certain angle, it flips it to where the driver's side door would be facing traffic. So we saw it with Ryan Newman in 2020. So and even though that was kind of a different scenario, it wasn't intentional. He was trying to get pushed. That can happen, especially, at a track like Vegas, where the front stretch is curved. It's not a straight wall. And then not even that, then you take out a Toyota teammate who is competing for a championship and probably ruin his championship hopes.
Yep. And, going into the whole driver's side contact, what I was getting at was he was headed for like a direct impact. What happened was he ended up actually, when he hit Bell, it put him at a little bit of an angle. So the left front made contact first, which kind of absorbed some of that energy instead of it just being a straight on. So the right front makes contact, then the rest of the car comes around and makes contact with the wall. But also making contact with Bell, it slowed him down just a little bit. Not a lot, but a little bit, to where that impact wasn't straight on flat driver's side, and allowed the left front to make contact beforehand. So that kind of absorbed some of the energy as well. Like I said, it kind of helped them not take as much damage directly to the driver. But yeah, man, right hooking somebody is just that's some. I'm sorry, but that's just dirty, man. Shouldn't happen.
That should stay on the simulator and not actually doing it, because at that point you're putting people's careers in jeopardy. And either way, whether he hits driver's side door flat, whether he tank slaps the wall with the right front, the right rear first, it's gonna hurt. And if you even go back and listen to the in-car audio, Larson spotters literally tell him, keep your head back, while he's literally spinning. And that's just. It's just not good. And, Bubba, he's had a lot of, instances where people have criticized him in the past. And this was,
doesn't help.
And a lot of people, are pushing for his suspension. And not even that, he issued an apology, and it really, mainly, I don't even know if he wrote the apology. It kind of sounded like it was something that somebody
else wrote that. 100% somebody else wrote that.
And there was still no direct apology to Larson. He said he was sorry to the 5 crew, but then he mainly kind of went on and said he was sorry for Christopher Bell and Toyota, and that's not what they go do. So it's like it's just really unfortunate. But I mean, at the end of the day, you learn a big lesson from that. You cannot, put people's lives in jeopardy like that. I mean, it's just uncalled for. Wrecks happen, bumps happen. Larson 100% didn't mean to get him up there. He was trying to save that car the best he could without trying to wreck him, and he didn't wreck them. He just got him into the wall a little bit. And I don't remember. I think someone had hit the wall, and they won a race this year after they hit the wall.
It was more on Bubba for overreacting and driving it, because if you look, to me, it looked like he overreacts, and instead of turning, he kind of kept the wheel more to the right or straight, however and so that automatically he's like, oh shit, and he, instead of paying attention and just keeping keep turning the car down like he probably should have, and if he makes contact with Larson that way, then maybe he doesn't hit the wall. I don't know. I mean,
I think there's still some slight air that is pushing that car upwards, and all you can see, you can't look around. All you see is a car just come straight up next to you, and you're still sitting there trying to turn. So either way,
because all you can move your head. You're basically just doing this.
I think that part, either way, it probably still goes on Larson, just because Larson, comes up the track, he's trying to save it, and even after, Bubba hit the wall, they still made a little bit of contact. So I think either way, Bubba was probably going to hit the wall, which, Larson was like that. That was completely on me.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you just can't wreck someone on purpose like that. Especially the worst type of retaliation is right hooking someone across the track.
Yep, right around them.
I think last year, or year before, we saw that happen with Ben Rhodes. Someone, I don't remember who exactly it was, but someone.
We saw Gragson do it earlier this season also.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he got fined $35,000 and lost like 50 owner points, which is huge when it comes to the Xfinity Series. So I think at least the one race suspension is pretty lenient.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think the one race suspension is enough?
You know what? I think it's fine in this case. I think my personal opinion on this, and I was kind of telling people, is that they were really going to find him and dock him points, or they were going to suspend him, but I don't think they were going to do both, because of Gragson's penalty was not extremely, severe.
Wasn't very severe, yeah.
So I think the worst type of punishment in this case would have probably been a race suspension, which, in this case, young in his career, I think that'll teach him. Hopefully, out of everything, he learns from this, because, he has potential as a driver. I think, he won a race at Kansas this year in a good car. And, if that team develops, into a better team, I think they'll challenge for wins here in the future more and more. And, I think that he needs to learn from this, because, not only affects his reputation and, his image, this also affects the team's image. And, I bet that Denny Hamlin had a good talk with him about it. And, you want to, we get mad, but you can't take your frustrations out by right hooking someone across the track.
Okay, so let me move us on along here for a little bit. Let's talk about Larson and his race at Homestead yesterday. How he absolutely dominated. He had an 8-second lead after stage 1. Stage 2, he dominated, and then stage 3, he dominated it for the most part. Except for when that caution with Blaney come out, that was insane. And obviously, we saw what happened on pit road with him and Martin Truex Jr. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. What's your thoughts on Larson coming in and dominating Homestead yesterday?
Honestly, the way that he's been racing, we kind of know Larson versus Larson line right up against the wall.
Yep.
And I feel like in recent years, we haven't really seen that out of him. We've not seen him have speed running that line. He used to do it at, Chicagoland. We'd see him go to 1.5-mile tracks and just absolutely run right up against the wall. I feel like we've not seen that Larson in a while. And, whether it's him or the car, yesterday he put that car right up against the wall and was running there a lot. And, he looked really, really comfortable. And, he was able to run the bottom. He was able to run the middle. That car was on rails yesterday, no matter where he ran. So that number 5 Chevy, team, that Hendrick team put on a great car. The crew chief had a great setup on the car. That car was bad fast. And, coming, I think, to, like 50 laps to go or something, he started a little bit back, I think like 6th or something, and drove his way right up to 2nd and was reeling in MTJ. So I think that 5 car was easily the class of the field yesterday. That car was flying, looked really good. He was able to put the car wherever he wanted it. And then we had Blaney spin out trying to come out of the pits, which was, kind of unfortunate, but it happens. Homestead is the only, track that kind of has that pit exit. So drivers aren't really used to doing that. And, usually when it's, whether it's the last race of the season or the earliest race of the season, that getting off pit road never gets easier at Homestead. Never does. And so Blaney spins and it makes them all go in because you got to take, your good years. And, from what I understood, it looked like Truex maybe overshot his box a little bit, realized late and had to turn in. So he let up really early, and Larson kind of turned him. I mean, I don't think it's really on Larson. MTJ can be mad about it all he wants, but he said, it was kind of equal, probably 50-50. I think it was more just Truex because, I mean, it's Larson is focused on his dash, trying to make sure that he is maximizing his speed.
Yep.
And when a car checks up in front of you a tiny bit, there's nothing you can do.
Okay.
And
so I think what happened was Martin decided he was going to try to check up Larson and create a gap. He thought, okay, I'm going to stay in front of him. I'll check up right when it's time to go into the box. And maybe this is just my theory. He tries to check him up so he can create distance. So maybe he beats him off pit road. Maybe. And that's, Brian Terry brought that up. And when I was on the phone with him this morning, he said that possibly Truex decided that he was, going to jab the brakes real quick and see if he could check Larson up a little bit, playing pit road games like people do. And it's a possibility that is what it was. Or maybe he just couldn't see his he did say he had a hard time seeing his pit box. His pit sign. He already admitted that.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair assumption. But the way I look at it is that when Larson completely spun him out, it actually spun him into his pit box.
Yeah. So it was like a perfect freaking slide job.
In my opinion, that if Truex would have kept going, I don't think he would have ended up in his pit box. Because he got turned completely around where the rear end went around perfectly into his pit box.
Yeah, he was about to pass it up. I think you're right. I think it was a late stop.
I honestly think that he just kind of missed the sign at 3, 2, 1, and I think he was thinking that it was the pit box behind that one.
Yeah,
which is what it seemed like. I mean, I think in the case or in the scenario that you're in, that in your head that can happen if you try to brake. You're going to probably get turned. So Personally, I don't think it was intentional. It could have been, to try to create some space. But, at the end of the day, I think Larson's looking at his dash. He's not really even looking at him. And, Truex kind of notices late, tries to pump the brakes and get in. Either way, I don't think he was going to make his pit box unless he got spun into it, which he did. So
if I was his pit crew, I'm going ahead and changing everything. I'm just going to he was in the box. All they had to do literally was just get their shit together, change tires, and then let him spin around and go. Like, honestly, why not?
Yeah, but I think when they were going around, I think the car kind of got over some equipment, and I think
it ran over the jack. That's right.
Yeah,
it did hit
and
the jack.
Yeah, so it
Luckily,
was
nobody was hurt.
No, and then not even that. MTJ comes back and finishes like 6th.
Dude, I know. Like, what the? Like, obviously, the car was fast.
The car was great. So
car was. And what about Joe Gibbs? Did you see Gibbs over there bitching at the official? He was giving the official an earful, and I mean, I don't know what he was trying to accomplish by bitching at the official, but he was just reaming that guy out.
It's like, here's the thing. He was a football coach. When you're a football coach, you vouch for your players, no matter the incident. You'll see it in any sport you watch. I watch a lot of hockey. I'm a big Canes fan. Obviously, I always see Rod Brindamore, no matter what the penalty is, even if it's like a blatant like hook, he'll always vouch for his players to try to the refs, not to call that next time. I think that's what Gibbs is doing here. He's trying to influence him. Look, he turned him on pit road. He's trying to vouch for his driver. But that's what you got to do as an owner, as a crew chief. You have to vouch for your driver no matter the instance. So I don't see any wrongdoing by Gibbs there. He's trying his best to, put his drivers in the best position. So, that's all a part of this sport. I don't see anything, wrong with that.
All right. One last thing, and then we'll go ahead and move on. What do you think? I'm sorry. Who do you think is going to be Final Four after Martinsville for NASCAR Cup Series? Who do you pick? Who are you thinking is going to make it? Do you think Denny's going to get above the cut line and knock out William? Or do you think William's going to hold on to that cut line? I think Chastain is in. And obviously, Joey's in. He's got to win. I think Chastain, Joey, and Willie, and Chase Elliott. That's who I think. Unless something happens early in the race next week. I don't know.
So we're going to Martinsville. When we look at Martinsville, obviously William Byron was your winner from the spring race. He flat out dominated Martinsville.
Yep.
So we're going to see what speed the teams bring this weekend. But if Hendrick can bring speed, I would think that we'd see the 24 and the 9 up front. They seem to be pretty quick in the spring. It's going to be probably really hard to pass again in any of the tracks where you're going to be downshifting. It seems like it's really hard to gain momentum on the cars in front of you. Your car just has to be good. And that 24 car was, easily the fastest car all race when they went there in the spring. So I think William Byron right here is, really excited to get back to this track. I think this is a track that he can get another win at. So out of it, obviously, we got Joey Logano. He won last week, didn't he?
Yeah, he won in Vegas.
He's locked.
He's locked. He's 100% locked. So we got Joey. Chastain is 15 points above the cut line, I believe.
I could see Chastain making it. I feel like this is a decent track for him. He's probably just gonna chill, get his stage points, get in and out of the week, and he's fine. I think really it comes down to I think Chase Elliott is 11 or so points to the good. I think it really comes down to those last two positions between Chase Elliott and William Byron. Chase Elliott should be fine, at least if he can get some stage points throughout the race, gets a top 10. He's locked. That's all he needs. Yeah,
Chase is 11 above the cut.
Yep.
William Byron is 5 above Denny. And then you've got Blaney, Bell, and Briscoe. Yeah. Unless they pull
Bell
off
and
something,
Briscoe have to win.
They have to win, yeah. Unless they pull off a dub, I don't see those guys moving on. Unless Chase gets wrecked early or Ross gets wrecked early or even William gets wrecked early.
Now, the main person I think a lot of people are going to vouch for here is going to be Denny Hamlin. Denny has always been fast, but when at the Martinsville race in the spring, he was terrible. 3 laps down.
24th or something? Isn't that where he finished? 24th, 25th?
Yeah, something like that. He was not good.
20-something.
So that 11 team is going to have to bring a good car that is completely opposite of the race. Of the spring race because they were slow. That's just what it was. They were slow. He knew it. That team could not do anything. So Blaney has always been fast at these short tracks. With the new car, it changes everything up though. So I don't really know how that's going to work for.
He's winless this
Blaney.
season.
Yeah, but
rough season for him.
And even though, he won the All-Star race, he's had a few bright spots, but, Blaney is going to have to, come out. And I think Blaney's going to have to win to lock himself in as well. So really, I think the main thing is we're going to be watching William Byron and Denny Hamlin kind of battle for that fourth spot. William Byron just needs to have a race like the spring race. If he could stay top 5 the entire race, he'll make the next round.
We'll see. Blaney's what, 18 back?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's 18 behind Byron. Denny's only 5. I mean, a couple good stages. Blaney might be able to get back up there, but
he practically has to win at this point.
He's basically he's almost a must win also, because unless something happens to those top 4, let's just say Ross, Chase, and William all end up in the back, no stage points. Then I see Denny and Blaney potentially getting a shot, but unless something happens to those guys, I think that's the 4. I think Logano, obviously, like I said, he's locked in. Chastain, Elliott, and Byron are your top 4 after Martinsville, because I know Willie B, his car in the spring was phenomenal. Chase, he's always strong at Martinsville. Chastain has a little bit of a cushion, not much. So what I say, plus 15.
We'll see if Denny remembers the earlier part of the season too with Ross. I know he got him kind of back at Pocono, but I think this would be a perfect opportunity for Denny to come back and maybe move Chastain out of the way, especially move him out of the way, move his cushion out of the way too.
That's true.
I mean, it's even if you recommend Martinsville, it probably won't do too much, but definitely, if he gets him near the end, I think that we might see something between them two. But I mean, other than that, like I said, is that going to be William Byron versus Denny Hamlin, and then if Briscoe, Bell, or Ryan Blaney can either try to get up there and win the race. And with these cars, everything has been unpredictable. Like we never know who's going to be the fast car of the week. So Martinsville, they've been there this season. Like I said, it seemed like it was just all Hendrick. Those guys were literally top 10 the entire race. With I think it was Chase and William just P1 and P2 the entire race. So at that point, is that going to if it doesn't change, I would not be surprised to see the 24 of the 9 back in victory lane at Martinsville. But if it does change, then I think it'd be super fun. We just got to see. Hopefully the cars are maybe a little more racier. I don't expect it just because, it's really hard for,
hard to pass.
Changes. I think it's going to be hard to pass. It's going to be, it's going to be really hard to generate that momentum, but you're going to have a good car to stay on the lead lap. So.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap this segment up. This was the NASCAR segment. I know we went a little bit long on that today, but we've not had a podcast in a couple weeks now, so that's we had a lot to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to send it on over to the Bluegrass segment. All right, guys, here we are into what you've been waiting for, the Bluegrass segment of the podcast. Today we're going to discuss Charlotte winners, Martinsville winners, Sheldon Kustritza and Maurer's last lap race at Martinsville. We got a whole lovely segment put together for you. So go ahead and kick us off with those winners from Charlotte. Mikey, if you don't care.
So the winners from Charlotte?
Yes, sir.
So first off, in the truck series, we had Justin White coming out there. My pick going out there winning the race. Super excited about that. He was super fast all race. So he goes out there and gets it done at Charlotte. And then I think Scott Fritz got it done in Xfinity. Scott finally got himself one.
Yes, he did.
It was really
locked himself in.
It's the first win that he's had since Daytona, I believe. So it was good for him to get out there, finally get a win for him. And then in the Cup Series, I was able to get it done there. Super fun race. We had a great time at Charlotte. I think it was overall a great week for the league. We had a lot of hard racing, so that was really fun.
Yeah, the Charlotte race was really fun to watch. It was really racy. There was a lot of stuff going on all over the track. Guys racing each other hard. Guys racing from back in second, third, fourth. Even in the truck series race, it was really fun to watch. The Xfinity series, there was a lot going on the track, a lot of action everywhere. You had James Silvers and those guys that were, doing really well the entire time as well. I think, who was it? So Kustritza pulls off a P2 at Charlotte. I do remember that. but you had Radburn or Brandon Robertson. Brandon Robertson looked like the guy to beat at Charlotte. Not even gonna lie, I thought it was Brandon's race. He ended up finishing P4. Tony Iverson came out with a really good run at Charlotte, led 42 laps.
Yeah, and I think that was second because I'm pretty sure Brandon led like 50, probably somewhere around that.
48 for Brandon, 42 for Tony, 32 for Scott. Radburn led 12, James led 10, Sean led 3. We had Lancaster, who ended up, I think he had a little bit of right front damage. Adam Lancaster, he looked fast. It seemed like he was going to have a good race. And then, it all came apart when he got into the wall and slowed his car down. And then, unfortunately for Nate Maurer, he ran into the back of Justin Winters.
Yep.
Justin was going on pit road. Nate ran in the back of him, destroyed both their cars. Nate had to go into a must-win situation in Martinsville, and we'll cover that in just a minute. But yeah, he ended up going into a must-win situation. So it was just unfortunate for both drivers to see that happen. But congrats to Fritz for the win. And looking at the truck series, Justin pretty much dominated the race. He had 71 laps led. Brad Gebhardt led 18. Adam Newbert led 2. Adam finished P2. Robbie Richards finished P3. Gebhardt finished P4. And Alex Healy finished P5. You had Clemens and P6, but Bobby Hall led 33 laps. He ended up finishing P7. Bobby looked fast. He had the fastest lap of the race. But Justin was just too much. He was just way too much. And he knew if he finished first in that race and won that race, he was locked in to the Phoenix race championship race, no matter what. So
yeah, he had a lot of confidence in that race too. I heard all week, he was, really saying, that he was going to probably do good there, and he did. And there were a lot of really good, battles, like I said, throughout the field. But I think Justin, kind of had it locked down. I think he led 70 or so laps. He was just super fast. And at that point, when you can manage, your speed throughout the long runs, Justin was able to do that. There were a lot of guys out there. I mean, like even Alex, I think Alex, he finished, like 5th, Alex Healy, good for him.
Yep.
We saw, I think you said Joshua Clemens was up there in 6th. Like we had some good guys up there, racing really hard with each other. And, that's what we kind of need, with the truck series, because these guys, like, I don't know what it is, man. They just race super hard, and it seems like they could do it for so long. And, Adam Newbert was not even too far, away from Justin the entire race. Like, he was just, him, Robbie Richards was up there. They were all battling really hard.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a phenomenal race. And then obviously on the Cup side of things, you got it done. Tell us about that a little bit. Give us a little insight, because you didn't lead the most laps. You actually stayed back and saved, and your strategy was to save tires, and you were really fast on the back end of the run. The front end of the run, you were fast, but you didn't push the car like some of the other guys were necessarily pushing it. I know Cedric and Gabe took off, and they were gone, and they led 67 and 50 laps respectively. So give us a little insight, because you ended up leading 27 laps, and I think that was mainly towards the end of the race, if I'm not mistaken.
So from what I remember, I kind of wanted to see what would happen early, and this is a long race. This is 200 laps. It's not, this is half 400, so it's the half of the Coke 600. So it's a long race.
Yep.
And
300 miles.
Yep. And with the way that like we have everything set up, I was more of just trying to keep it nice and easy, not try to overdrive it. So I'd kind of do that at the beginning of runs, because it seemed like, you could almost stay full throttle for the majority. Like you'd obviously have to let off going into 1 and 3, but like you're able to get back on the throttle really quickly. But I was trying to find a way that I could maximize that without, overdriving. And it seemed like a lot of these guys, they pick up the pace really early.
Yeah.
So even like on the last restart we had, I mean, I dropped about like a second and a half off of the person in front of me. Probably, I think I was back in like 7th or 8th, and the front 6 guys were gone.
Yeah,
so,
you were pretty far back, because actually, I just remembered you had a battle with Cedric at towards the end of the race. you and Cedric were battling. You finally caught Cedric, and you caught him with like 20 something laps to go, maybe 18, 20 laps. And you made your first move around, that lap marker. Then you made a move around lap 15. And then you kind of settled in and you followed him for about 10 laps, I feel like. And around lap 5, wasn't it lap 5? You made the final pass on him.
So I remember because I dropped back almost 2.5 seconds of the leaders, and then I started to reel them in. Cars started coming in, so I think I caught Cedric with like 20 to 15 laps to go,
somewhere in that area. Yep. You made a move. It didn't work.
I tried to get around him as quick as I could. He was really able to kind of block the inside really well.
Yeah, he was defending really well.
So I was trying to figure out where I could run. I was getting really, really good runs off turn 4. It was really hard to get a good run off of turn 2 just because you're in the throttle a little bit more. So it's kind of easier to, keep it nice and easy in 1 and 2.
Yep.
So even though I'd gain a little bit on him, I really couldn't do too much going into turn 3. But off in turn 3 and 4, it's a lot more off throttle because both corners are extremely different. Yep. And I was able to literally get underneath him like 3 or 4 times, but he was just holding it so low. I think even one time, he got me into the grass, but then like by the time we got into the corner, he would pinch me so hard. It's like, I couldn't get back on the gas without wrecking him. And I didn't want that because I was looking at the big picture.
Right.
So I tried many times to pass him for like 10 laps straight. I started moving up a little bit, trying to get the run. And by that time, my tires had started to, I was really pushing.
You ate at them. Yeah. You were, you were going hard.
I stayed behind him for like 2 laps, trying to cool my right side tires back down. And going into 3, I was like, I'm just going to drive, I was just starting to drive it in really hard to see what I could do. And I drove it in pretty hard.
Oh yeah, deep.
And I didn't really use brake the entire night, but I used brake there. Promise you that. And I was able to get underneath him. I was like, he's just going to get the run on the outside. I hit the gas, and all I see on my right side is woo.
You were gone,
I was like, no way.
I think you caught him off guard, honestly.
That's what he said. He said he honestly wasn't expecting it. And to be honest, if I was him, I wouldn't have expected it either because I was about a car length and a half back. Yep. When I went underneath him and I saw that he wasn't pinching off that inside, I gassed it back up a little bit to get underneath him, and then I braked to settle the car through the corner, and then I was able to get back on the throttle before him. And and also too, he hadn't run that middle line, so he didn't really know where to get back on the gas at. And he didn't overdrive the corner or anything. I just caught him off guard there.
And that's what it looked like. I mean, exactly.
Caught me off guard as well.
Yeah. Me too. I was sitting there like, well, he's, congrats on P2, Mikey. You had a hell of a run at it. And that's what I was sitting there thinking. I was like, well, because and I was streaming. So I was like sitting there saying, well, I think Mikey's just, settled in for P2. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, I kind of think that's what maybe Cedric was thinking, was like you were done challenging him and just going to go ahead and settle for P2. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, I was like, yo, let's go. It was like, incredible pass. Like you drove around him. Like it wasn't just like he let you go. I mean, you made that happen. And
I remember my throttle and brake input was just like, I remember going in and kind of getting underneath him. I slammed back on the throttle to push that because I know I'd gotten lower, so I pushed it underneath him. Then I kind of had to brake a little bit harder, but at that point, he kind of slid up the track because I don't think he was expecting it, so it kind of evened out that. And then on the bottom, I took shorter way around the track, was able to get back on the throttle a little bit earlier. That's probably one of the better moves that I've made on the simulator. I was in, Cedric, he's really, really good at holding a line. He's really good at holding a defensive line as well.
Yep.
So that was super, super hard, pass for me to make. But,
I can imagine.
But sometimes, you've got to try different things. And, at that point I was probably not going to go back to the high side just because I felt like if I could stay behind him, I might be able to do something here in the upcoming laps because my tires were still a little bit better. I can't remember. I think we were on a green flag run there. So I think I had pitted a few laps like after everyone. I think I'd stayed out like an extra 3 or 4 laps. So I knew I had a little bit, difference on my tires, but I just sent it in there. did the best of my ability, and it worked. And it was a super fun finish. And and if you look at everyone in that race, I mean, Gabriel absolutely ran a great race too. I was good to see Gabe finish P3. I think Brandon was out there P4, ran an incredible race as well. I think Alex was 5th. And there were a lot of guys up there. I think we even saw Tony Iverson and Scott lead a few laps that race. Jonathan Cogswell was up there. All the guys who showed up for that race, did a fantastic job, and we all had a lot of fun because at the beginning of those runs for the first 20 laps, you couldn't get off the car in front of you.
Right,
and
right.
And it made that race super fun.
So looking at something real quick, I was going to talk about this. I know it's not on our sheet, but Keith Hackney's had a rough couple weeks in the Truck Series. He had a rough, time at Charlotte. Looks like he finished P18 at Charlotte. He only led a lap.
He was up there at the end of Martinsville, though. I think he finished, with a few restarts there at the end. I'm pretty sure he finished P4, P3.
Yeah, he got back into it at Martinsville. I think you're right. I think he did finish. Let's see, where was he at? P3. You're right. P3 at Martinsville. But let's touch on that on Martinsville for just a moment. Now that we've got Charlotte behind us. So early, Hackney has the lead, and Bobby Hall and he are racing door to door. It's literally like lap 1. Keith has the pole. Bobby's outside pole. So Keith fires off, gets out in front of Bobby. Bobby charges back in 3 and 4, and gets underneath him. And they're coming around out of 4, and they're just side by side. Bobby's all the way up against the curb. There's nowhere for Bobby to go. Keith starts to pull out in front of him, starts to get ahead of him, and gets on the gas, and just kind of turns across his nose and spun himself, which therefore brings out the first yellow. And we have a rule that states any cautions within the first 10 laps is automatic probation for 2 weeks. Now, obviously, we only have one race left in the season, so his probation is only good for this week, so he has to start at the tail of the field tonight. But the field has been generally 22 cars at Martinsville, for instance. So 20 cars or less, let's say we might have 22 tonight. I don't know that we will. I hope we have more than that, just because that's about what we have running still is 20 something guys in the Truck Series. So I'm hoping that it's a decent sized field tonight at Phoenix. But I'm not going to, say that it's going to be more than 20, because I honestly, I don't know at this point. I mean, there are still teams running for the team championship in trucks. So I'm hoping that most of those guys still show up. But Keith has had a few bad weeks, not just like the last couple weeks, but, going back even before that, he had a rough race at Vegas with Justin White. Ended up, those two got into a wreck, which I believe let Bobby Hall win, if I'm not mistaken. I have to look at that just to make sure. Yeah, Bobby Hall won back-to-back Vegas and Bristol, so that was right. But you had Adam Newbert in the trucks. He was our winner last Monday in the trucks at Martinsville, and that was a phenomenal drive by Newbert. He got up to the front,
himself into the final 4.
Yep, and he locked himself in because prior to that he was on the outside looking in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and prior to that he was not locked in. He was I don't even know that he was a top 4 driver at that point, to be honest with you.
I think he was like 5th or 6th or something like that. But practically, he went in there and had to have a good race, and I think he probably had the best race out of the playoff drivers, and I think he led a good amount of laps. I think the most. He just in general, had a really, really good night. And looking at it here, he was 5th.
Yeah.
He was 1 point behind Robbie Richards, but still, at that point, you've got to go in and you've got to have the mentality that you need to win the race.
Yeah, and Newbert led, like you said, he led 64 laps, so he led the most laps. Yeah. It was a pretty long race. It was 150 laps, I believe.
Yeah, a lot of cautions too.
So. Yeah, that we had a lot of cautions, which was unfortunate. But he held on at the end. Like he held off for like a last. There was a caution towards the end of the race that he held off a couple of the guys and ended up securing his spot into the Final Four. So congrats to Newbert on that, and we've got the Final Four has been set, and I'm excited for tonight to see what happens. So we have Bobby, Keith, Adam, and Justin. So those guys are going to battle it out tonight for the $500 prize, and obviously second gets $250, $125, $75, and then we still have a race for fifth, which will come down to Richards and Clemens and Worthington.
Yeah, Daniel Worthington is in there, and I think even Wes, he still has a shot at it. He's only
stage points. If they get stage points and Robbie doesn't, they definitely have a shot at it.
Yeah, 10 points separates fifth through eighth. Yep. So I think at that point, anyone can get in. It takes a good track for you to come back in here. And this is such an awesome Final Four to have too for the Truck Series.
It is.
Like these guys, they've been practicing all week. I don't even know who's going to win. Like having these four guys, it's going to be so awesome. And not only that, we're going to be having the battle for fifth. We're going to be having the battle, trying to get as many points as you can, to even finish like ninth. I feel like if you can have a good race here at Phoenix, this will literally propel you into the next season. Having a good finish at Phoenix can, okay, I'm coming back. I'm going to do good. And maybe even next year, once you come back, carrying that momentum from the last race. I know I did that. I got my first top 3 at Charlotte last year, and I come into this season, obviously had a lot better season I did last season. So it's like you can carry that momentum into the next round. Not even that, like the last few races of that season. If you look at the Truck Series, there were some good. CJ Mason was up there in P4, Michael McCauley P5, Ed Osborne P6. All these guys are going to carry that momentum into the Phoenix. Not only that, they're going to carry that momentum into the next season. So I think, these last few races, even if you're not battling for a championship, they're crucial for, trying to figure out, what can you do better? Maybe watching some of the guys and then maybe try some new things out. Because at this point, even though you're racing for position, it's like this is also a great opportunity to learn what's fast, what's not fast, and what's smart and what's not smart.
Well, let's just talk about this for a second. Ed Osborne coming in with a P6 and Michael McCauley coming in with a P5. Those are two names that you don't necessarily hear a lot about being in the top 5, top 10, but they got it done at Martinsville. Like that just shows you why it's so important to finish the league. Why people go and they have one bad race and they quit, I'll never understand, because you've already paid for your season charter. You've already spent all this money on races. You're not going to have winning races every single week. And you're also not going to have bad races every single week. So why give up and quit? Because this league is a testament to how much guys improve over the course of a season if they stick it out and they actually continue running instead of giving up, and they continue to run and they continue to practice. They just get better. You get, iron sharpens iron. So these guys are going out here and they stuck it out. They've come to the second to last race for the season, and look at what they do. They reel off some really good, positions, and it's just like CJ coming up into P4. All these guys, they stuck it out, and the improvement is there. You can see the improvement, and that's why I encourage people, instead of joining a league and quitting after 1 or 2 bad races, dude, like Newbert is the prime example for this. Newbert had the worst first half of the season possible for somebody. He gets into the top 16 though, which is all you got to do. You just got to make the top 16. And then he gets into the top 16 and he's in the playoffs. And now he's in the freaking Final Four.
Now he's racing for $500 tonight.
And now he's racing for a championship because he didn't quit.
Yep.
Okay. A lot of these guys, they have a bad, they have something, a bad experience in 1 or 2 races. They don't like a call the admin makes. Oh, I'm going to take my toys and go home. I'm going to take my toys and leave because I don't agree with that. And I don't like that. Dude, that's freaking racing. Like, you're not going to always agree with the admin. You're not always going to like the admin. It doesn't matter. As long as the races are being called fairly, which is something that I pride myself on doing and something that I do religiously, I want these races to be called by the rule book and the way that they're supposed to be called, which is by the rules, right? So I enforce the rule book and I do everything that's in the rule book because that makes the racing better. That makes the product better that we're putting out here. So, these guys that want to, the admin sucks. The admin just pissed me off because I wrecked somebody and they said it wasn't my fault. Dude, go fuck off, because that's so stupid. Like you're throwing away money is what you're doing. You're throwing away money, like, because you've already paid for your charter. Your season could be ran and you could get better. You could learn something. You're racing against guys that are fast and shit. So why give it up, man? And Newbert is the proof of that. Newbert is the proof.
Yeah, and how many times have I said I'm gonna quit because I've had a bad race? How many times do I send you messages every other week?
Yeah,
like I keep coming back.
I'd talk you off the ledge.
Yeah, you slap some sense into me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, yeah, it's just one bad race. But like, I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to do our best and try to win these races. I think everyone has the mindset to come out and win rather than learn. And I'm gonna put some emphasis on this.
I get that.
It's like. If you feel like you are in, this is for any truck series driver, Xfinity series driver who maybe don't have the highest VI rating, who maybe struggle at tracks. At least for me, and you can come ask a few of the other guys, but I am going to go ahead and say it right now that I'm completely open for it. Come ask for help. Like if you really think that you're struggling so hard, literally 100%. Go to my name on Discord, send me a message, and I would be down to help because I love helping. I love, same thing with Jason. I mean, Alex Huffman, I'm pretty sure
this is a community.
Cedric, yeah.
That's what makes this special is the guys that don't ever stick around and shoot the crap after a race, and the guys that never talk to anyone. Those guys are the ones that usually typically quit because they don't realize that this is a community. This is a brotherhood. And once you've been here for a season or two, you start to see that. I mean, am I right? Like, look how many times you wanted to quit, and I was like, dude, you don't need to quit. And now look how ingrained you are in this league. I mean, you're helping me do the freaking podcast, for God's sake. So, I mean, that just goes to show you guys, like, don't be afraid to contact any of us for that matter and talk to us. If you and another driver have an issue and you can't resolve it peacefully without telling them you're going to wreck them and stuff, then come to me, talk to me about it. I'll talk to both drivers. I'll be the intermediate and I'll be the in between, and I'll help settle the problem. And, if the problem can't be solved, then someone's, has to go, then someone has to go, unfortunately. But this, that's what we mean by when we say go to people and DM them. We want you to DM them and have a civilized discussion. We don't mean go tell them you're going to wreck them, or, tell them that if they don't quit bullying you in pre-race practice, that you're going to spin them like I did the other day.
At least say it in post-race fights, so it's at least interesting.
Well, his rebuttal was, you say don't say stuff. No, we've never said don't say stuff in post-race fights. We told you not to be passive aggressive and toxic. There's a difference.
There's no point for that. And as we all get mad at each other. I can tell you, I've been mad at probably every single person in the Cup Series at some single point this season. And things happen. It's racing. You're gonna bump each other. You're gonna wreck each other. When you race with the same people every week, something's gonna happen with y'all. But
exactly.
It's your job to be able to rebound from that. And when incidents happen, I don't see anything wrong with saying stuff. Hey, you wrecked me in post race, but usually once you see drivers say something in the post race fights, they'll argue for like 10 minutes and then they go their own directions and it's over. Yeah,
and they don't continue it week after week and day after day.
Yeah, it's kind of that entire thing. Like if things happen, I mean, if you really feel like there's something wrong with it, talk to someone who's of higher standing, and
yes, come to me.
Obviously, yeah, exactly. Jason, resolves all this. He comes and bitches at me, every once in a while. It's like, hey, you did this, don't do it again. All right. Yeah, it's like whatever. But I mean, along with all that though, please come ask for help. Please come ask for assistance. Anything that like is needed, whether it's admins or it's Jason, all of us would be able to help. And even if it's just help with racing, working on your racecraft, like at least me and Jason, we'd be so down to help.
Yeah, absolutely.
So please come ask for help. Please ask for assistance. Anything. That's all you got to do.
All right. Sorry, I got us off on a little tangent there. Let's go ahead and discuss Sean Kostritza and his win at Martinsville. It was unbelievable. The race was probably the best race I've seen all season from any series. I mean, it was that damn good. It was literally a last lap, last corner pass over Maurer, who had to win. Now, keep in mind, we talked about this earlier. Maurer had to win to get into the Final Four, and Sean shut that door on him. He literally slammed that sucker shut coming out of turn 4, took the lead, and it was just it was over after that, is all she wrote.
Yeah. And fresher tires there, definitely prevailed, but it was a good race by him. A lot of people, there were a lot of incidents that race. I think there were cautions. There were 2 or 3 drivers that finished the race that had less than 10 incidents, which a lot of people could look at this and say, oh man, they're just wrecking each other every lap. I think it's more of, everyone is refusing to lose. And I feel like, it depends. When it's Martinsville, wrecking is natural. It happens. It's so hard to race at Martinsville clean.
It is.
And no matter who you take to Martinsville, people are going to wreck. When I race in official races there, everyone wrecks. It's because, no one wants to lose. But, I mean, Kostritza did a great job. Maurer, Maurer stayed out there and did the best he could, man.
Put up a hell of a race. Maurer had a really good race.
He put up a hell of a season.
Yeah. I mean, hell of a season, hell of a race.
Maurer. I wouldn't let this get to him. He'll be back next season and he'll be contending for a championship next season. I bet it 100%. So, I know he's not going to be battling for one tomorrow night, but, good season, Nathan. Props to you. But Sean, man, he led 1 lap that race and it was the one that mattered. That was a great move. Just had the tires underneath him to do it. But not only that, he did it very cleanly there. I mean, that's what you want. And, whether you're getting people early in the race or not, doesn't matter. I mean, it just matters how, everyone's going to remember the finish of that race. He did a great job doing it. There were a few drivers. I mean, I think it was James Silvers, man. He had a fantastic race.
He led 135 of the 200 laps.
I remember watching.
I didn't think anybody's going to beat him.
Yeah, just a few cautions there at the end kind of switched everything up, which is really unfortunate. But, there were a few guys up there, that were just, absolutely just did not want to lose. I mean, and props to my buddy Justin Winters, man, finishing out their top 3. Yep. He had he was involved in a lot of things that night, and
but came back. Yep.
Yeah, and so good for him. And I think P5 was it Darius?
Darius. I
was about to say I saw him come back up, through the field. He's able to get himself back on the lead lap there at the end, and he was able to have a great finish to his race. And good for those guys for sticking it out, because Martinsville is definitely a tough track mentally and physically to get through. So you have to keep your head cool. Cool heads prevail here in this situation. So good for them. But man, Sean, he did a great job, set him up perfectly, was finally able to get underneath him. And he was able to, all he had to do was just not slide up and hit him. If he was able to hold that bottom line, was able to do it. He did. But it seemed there at the end, if he had ran the top or the bottom, that car was able to get off the corner so well with the rubber underneath him. So, So, but out of it, he led the 1 lap that mattered. So
that's right, man.
Great win, Sean. That was such a good one. And again, all those guys who finished out there, top 5, top 10, they did fantastic job. And thanks for putting on a good show, Xfinity Series.
Very, very good show by the Xfinity drivers. And that leads us into Scott Fritz, Brandon Robertson, James Silvers, and Radburn Shutters all battling for a championship tomorrow night. That's 10:25:22 at 9:10 Eastern. 9 o'clock is when we start qualifying. You'll be able to catch all of the qualifying action at 9 Eastern, and you'll be able to watch those guys battle it out tomorrow night for a championship, while our Truck Series runs tonight, Monday the 24th at 9 Eastern as well for a championship. So we want to move on to the Cup Series real quick, touch base on that, and we see Alex Huffman pick up his first win of the season. Let's talk about that a little bit. I missed that race. I actually didn't catch the race. Had some family stuff going on, personal stuff happened. But it looks like Cedric Hunter led most of that race, 143 laps. And then Huffman got out to the lead late. Had some trouble early. I know Kustritza and him made some contact early in the race, and I think it broke his right front, and he had to go get that fixed. If I'm not mistaken, is that what happened? It broke his tie rod end on the right front or something.
So
That's what he told me. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe knocked the toe out a tiny bit, but
didn't actually break it, just knocked it out. Okay.
Yeah, because if he'd have broken it, then he would have been in the pit. I know Newbigging had that where he got put into the wall.
And that's usually like a 7 or 8 minute repair.
Yeah, and it would have been probably about 15 laps in the pits.
Yeah.
So obviously, it wasn't broken, but
Right.
Alex, overestimates things and
exaggerates a little.
He goes down 2 or 3 laps there, and with a good amount of cautions, stage breaks, he was able to, and I think there was 17 cautions, so there was a lot of opportunities to go out there and get your laps back. So he was able to get it back, and his car was pretty quick. He wasn't the fast guy out there, but he was pretty quick there. Got himself back on the lead lap, did a great job. But yeah, no, Cedric and David Farmer were gone there in the last stage. Before that, Brandon was up there, Jonathan, Gabe was up there, Mo Abbott was up there too. A lot of people were up front, battling and all that. And then I think there was at this beginning of the third stage, they were getting a few more cautions. I actually got beached in the 3 and 4 grass. I couldn't get out. And so I went 3 laps down from that. Thank God we had Brian Terry and Matt Grenier. Matt's race was kind of over, but again, huge props. If anyone in this league has the most sportsmanship ever, it's Matt Grenier.
Agreed.
That dude give a leg for another driver. So he actually got himself beached as well and then blew up. Yeah. So thank you to him. And I think David Farmer, or not David Farmer, Brian Terry was able to get me out. And also props to Mo Abbott too. He also, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Scott Fritz. He got Scott out of the grass early in the race. Yep. So props to those guys, good sportsmanship. But so I was able to get my laps back as well. And I remember we got up to the front, and Alex and I kind of stayed out on older tires. I know Doug had an incident with Brandon Holder, which kind of put them in the back, and that kind of ended Doug's contention for a championship, which was really unfortunate. Doug was up there at the beginning of the race the entire time, so super unfortunate for him. But I think we pitted on lap 170 or so, and that put Huffman and I 1 and 2, and that's how it was for the rest of the race. If there was cautions, Alex and I were really down to play the tire game here, and just hopefully the tires would stay underneath us. And I know Cedric got in a few incidents, Brandon got in a few incidents, and everything. On
the broadcast because I didn't see the race live, but I watched the broadcast back. On the broadcast, I saw something happen to Cedric. He ended up losing the lead out of a black flag or something happened. What?
Yeah, I do know what happened here. So Martinsville is really weird. When you cross the line and a caution comes out, the pace car comes out of turn. It comes out of turn 2, and it goes out really quickly. So you have to catch it on the backstretch. The only problem, or I think it's the opposite, if you don't cross the line. I think Cedric was just behind the start finish line. It's either he just passed it or was just behind it, and he goes past start finish line after the caution comes out. And when he caught up to the pace car on the backstretch, it says close pits. And the second they got beside the pits, it said pits were open. So he wasn't able to go in and take tires. So I think he went back in the next time by and went and took tires. I don't think he stayed out. I think he went back in and pitted and took tires. So that's what happened there, which is really unfortunate because it happened all night. We were kind of talking about it in the race channel. When you would once you get to the pace car, right away it would say pits open. You had very little time to think about would you go in or would you not. So I think he just got past pits right when it said it was open. So it was just kind of weird. I don't really know. That's kind of on iRacing's part.
That happened to Healy last season in the race for the championship. The pits opened right as he was going past them, and he didn't have time to cut over and go down. So
I kind of put Cedric in the back, and he was able to get his way back through the field, but I don't remember who it was. He was involved in an incident though that it turned him headfirst into the wall.
I don't remember what happened there either, but I do remember seeing him get wrecked, and he ended up going.
Yeah, I don't
out.
remember if he got. I think he. I don't remember what it was. I think someone got inside of him and he kind of overcorrected it. But that's Martinsville. You know, people get underneath you, and it happens. And I kind of destroyed that car. But I mean, other than that, there was it was a battle there at the end. Old tires versus new tires. I think Alex and I finished the race with 80 lap tires.
So let's go ahead and talk about you and Alex there for a moment. What was the strategy play there? Were you just trying to be a good teammate and ensure Alex won the race to get into the Final Four, because we know he was in a pretty much a must-win scenario, correct?
Well, I'm gonna say this. I never am gonna give up a race on purpose. I'm gonna go out there and do my best to win a race. Obviously, I'm gonna give Alex some leeway. For me, he's a teammate. He'll officially be my teammate with next season. So I felt like it was probably my best interest to get him in with me. If I would have really, really gotten a run on him, I probably would have tried and passed him and gave him second. But I felt in the situation there was no need to push the issue, because I know even though Alex and I are really good friends, he's going to race me hard.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm locked into the next round. I don't see a reason for me to wreck him or maybe wreck Brandon, who's my teammate right now. Like I there's a lot of scenarios there. So I felt like it was just probably my best interest just to stay in second, not push the issue unless I had an opportunity to go for it. So at the end of the day, I ran my line. I'd really started to catch Alex there at the end. And, if there was probably like 5-6 more laps, I maybe would have thought about trying to go for the win.
I just know they were talking about it on the broadcast, potential possible collusion going on there, because a couple of those restarts, it looked like you kind of let Alex back over in front of you.
Yep,
so they were, and there's, as long as you are going as hard as you can go there, it is what it is, giving him a little break. I understand that. And there's nothing wrong with that. People do it all the time in real life. So
I'm honestly not the greatest at Martinsville. So it was more of me, I'm kind of working on my line, working on different stuff. And there was, Alex got out to a pretty good lead there for a second. He's probably about 8/10 in front of me, and I started to reel him back in. But there was also a lot of cautions too, so it just didn't allow me to, get back
in the groove. Yeah, I get you.
But I definitely was, trying to at least, if think it was in my best interest to, either help him or Brandon, get that. And I think they were actually the last two battling. So once Brandon got up to third, I knew I was kind of in good, I was in good shoes there, and at that point, it's like I'm obviously not going to throw a race, for I want to win.
I had to ask for the entertainment, of course,
Yeah, but I'm not going to say that I didn't help him. I definitely did help him.
Probably give him a little leeway, like you said, but
I did clog the bottom lane, and it wasn't intentionally. I'm just kind of a little bit slower at Martinsville because that's a track that I'm still trying to figure out. And also, too, I'm on older tires, so a lot of the guys behind me were a lot quicker through the center of the corner. But on restarts, though, Alex and I were pretty content, for let him drop in, because I knew at least at that point I'd be able to keep second. So we kind of talked about that, and I was fine with that. I felt like I had a pretty good car. I definitely was able to learn a lot throughout the night, but I'm as a teammate, kind of got to do some things, but I was not going to throw the race away. I definitely was still trying.
Sense. So that puts us with Gabe Ellison, Alex Huffman, Cedric Hunter, and of course my homeboy Mikey Neal as the championship 4 going into Wednesday night's championship race on 10/26 at 9 Eastern. Be sure to check that out. Tune in to Bluegrass iRacing series on Facebook and YouTube. You can check that out there, and also on the UDTV Facebook and YouTube channels, as well as dirtfan.com. I know it's a little weird that we're on dirtfan.com, but that's just part of the deal, having UDTV, which is Ultimate Dirt TV, come over and start doing the asphalt side of our broadcast. So with that in mind, I believe that wraps up our bluegrass segment. Next, we will head on over to the red green segment, and we'll catch you guys there in just a moment. All right, guys, this is red green flag segment. Red flag means you disagree, and green flag means you agree with the topic. Topic one, Larson's reaction to the Bubba incident. Mikey, go ahead.
I'm going to give Kyle Larson a green flag here. I think he handled this situation very professionally. It seemed like overly, he wasn't too upset about the incident. Obviously, personally, he definitely was upset. You always are after you get intentionally wrecked. But I think the way that he handled the entire incident was mature of him. He didn't say anything. And I think the only other thing that he said was this week was like, yeah, no, it's behind me. It happened. Don't really need an apology for it. I started it. So, at least if he came out, apologized or gave out an apology statement, that's all I needed. And he went back out and then won the next race. So definitely a green flag there for Kyle Larson.
So I'm going to say red flag on this, because if anybody comes up to me like Bubba did Larson and shoves me that many times, and you don't throw haymakers on him, come on, bro. I'm sorry, but I see what you're saying. It was definitely the professional way to handle it. But after that second or third push, man, I'm throwing hands, bro. I'm sorry. I can't. That's how it is. So, all right, moving on. Final four for the series of bluegrass. Are you happy? Do you believe that these are the guys that deserve to be in the final four for the series? We have all three series. We have in Cup, we have Ellison, Huffman, Hunter, and Neal. What do you think? Are you green flag, red flag on that?
I'm gonna have to go. You know what? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go green flag on this one. But man, there's just. Oh, I wish we could have more drivers in the finals. Man. I mean, all these guys. There's so many people. Like, there's 8-10 drivers in each series that deserve to run for a championship. And obviously, the way point systems work, we can't include everyone. But man, it's gonna be a battle to the end in some of these series. I mean, if we look at the truck series, we have Bobby Hall, Keith Hackney, Adam Newbert, and Justin White. I could not tell you who's going to win out of those four.
I couldn't either. I think that's green flag all the way for me on those guys as well.
Yeah, Scott Fritz, Brandon Robertson, James Silvers, and Radburn Shutters. Like, who's got no idea who would win out of that? And then obviously you have me, Cedric, Alex, and Gabe. Going to be an unbelievable battle in all three series, and I promise you that no one is going to give an inch this weekend. Big green flag to the final four in all series. It's going to be a fun one, and I'm excited to see who's going to win it all.
Yeah, like I said, I'm green flag on this all the way. This is going to be a fun week. I'm pumped up for tonight. I want to see what happens with the final four guys. I really want to see them race it out. I really don't want to see anybody get wrecked out. I want to see this come down to a last lap, last corner pass, last week at Martinsville, honestly, in all three series. Now, will that happen? I don't know, but that's what I want to see. And I'm green flag on the guys that made it into the final four, and just having this final four this week. It's just going to be awesome, man. So I'm green flag all the way. All right, that concludes our segment for the red flag and green flag. Now we're going to move over to the Are You Serious moment, and we'll be with you in just a moment. Are you serious, bro? All right, we are in the Are You Serious segment of the podcast. All right, next gen cars get stuck on curbs at Martinsville. Are you serious, Mikey?
Oh my goodness, are you serious, Martinsville? What is going on here? I put on my hat, got my chair, and I got beached right on turn 3 at Martinsville, man. What are we doing here? The curbs are a little bit too high. The next gen cars with the diffuser just sits right on top of it. Me and Scott Fritz took a vacation in the middle of that race. Come on, curbs. Are you serious?
Are you serious? All three series with the amount of cautions that we had at Martinsville. Guys, I love the racing. I love the intensity, and I love the passion that was shown at Martinsville. But the amount of cautions, especially in the Cup Series, man, 17 cautions. I mean, I know 2 of them were stage breaks, so technically you had 15 cautions, but there shouldn't have been that many cautions in our Cup Series with the driver count that we had. To be honest and be fair, the driver count is low enough that we probably should have finished that race under green, or with very little cautions at all.
Any
So
any any guesses on how many total cautions that we had between all 3 series? Pick a number.
uh 40.
42.
Damn. Damn. That's
Put
insane,
up
man.
put up 6 touchdowns worth of cautions.
Oh, well, unfortunately, we had that's short track racing, I guess, and it seems like we had our issues. But one thing I do want to cover real quick is I want to go into some of the team owner stuff real quick. So I want to have team owners be responsible for keeping the charters filled and putting more of an emphasis on the charter system to be more like NASCAR. That'll allow us to find sponsors a lot easier because we'll have higher car counts. We'll have more people watching every week, which will make our numbers go up on our streams and stuff. And then we'll be able to find sponsors that are willing to put prizes or prize money towards a team championship and have drivers more inclined to stay for the entire season. So if you're interested in becoming a team owner in Bluegrass, feel free to reach out to me. I'll tell you what that entails and what we're going to try to do moving forward in the future. But we want to try to bring in that team element more so that we have one guy who's in charge of filling each seat every week with a driver of similar skill, or they can be a driver from one of the lower tier series that can go up into the other series and run, because that's kind of what the trucks and the Xfinity are here for. They're filler series, so they're meant to bring drivers up to help with the Cup Series. So if you're interested in becoming a team owner, reach out to me and I'll give you some information about that, because that's the direction we want to head into with the charter system, and something I've been trying to implement for the last couple seasons. We just, it seems like we lose people over time. But if you're real serious about staying committed to the league and you want to learn how to become a team owner, just reach out to me. And then we want to try to bring in these sponsors to give us more prizes for teams. Like if we can come up with something for the team championship, where say for instance the owners championship or / team, it's the same thing. Team championship is the owners championship for us. What NASCAR has, they have an owners championship. Well, we have a team championship, but that's technically our owners championship, right? So we want that to be worth as much as the drivers championship. The drivers championship, only way I know to do that would be to take the money from the drivers championship, put that towards the team championship. I don't want to do that. But if we can find sponsors that are willing to put prizes and prize money towards the team championship and make it worth more for those teams to come in and stay all season and race consistently, week in and week out, that's what we're shooting for. We don't want drivers that are going to quit after a couple weeks or quit after a bad race or quit when they get eliminated from the playoffs. We want guys to stick around all season and run. So we're looking for guys that can fiscally be team owners. So if you are, able to financially to help out some drivers, and I've made some channels in the Discord that says recruitment for teams. So if you're looking for drivers, go in there and put it on in the Discord that you're looking for drivers. If you're looking for a team and you don't have one yet, there's a channel for that as well, where you can go in and put what team you're wanting to put that you're looking for a team. Also, I want to start putting an emphasis on the manufacturers. I want to try to have teams, declare ahead of time, are you a Chevy team? Are you a Ford team? Are you a Toyota team? And kind of put a little something in there with that, because the more that we have this structured like NASCAR, the higher the chances are that I'll be able to bring other big time sponsors in, and hopefully we can figure something out so that we can keep these races completely full all the way till the end. So, and if you're interested in being a sponsor, feel free to reach out to me as well. If you're looking to partner up, it's a tax write off. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you can use it to help benefit your small business. So if you own a small business and you want to advertise a little bit, it's low cost advertisement. We can get you in as low as $50 a race and get you featured as the you'll be the race. You'll have all the rights to that race. You get to name the race. You're the main sponsor for that race, the main partner. You'll be featured on several promos, and you'll be featured on the broadcast all throughout. And then you get added to the contingency pack for the rest of the season. So whenever we go over our sponsors at the end of the race, you still get a shout out at the end of the broadcast. So, you have anything to add this week, Mikey? Anything you want to throw in before we call it a day?
It was a really good week, I think. Martinsville's super fun. Had a lot of really good battles. So, good job, drivers. Thanks to all the sponsors out there. And I think I'm ready to get to some picks for this upcoming week at Phoenix.
Yes, sir. So let's go ahead. Who do you think is going to pull it off in the truck series?
Man, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and take. He won last week. I hope he gets me 2 for 2. Going between these 4, man, is so hard.
It is.
But I think I'm gonna go with Justin. I think Justin's gonna pull it off.
Yeah, you would take my damn pick. All right. So I think I was gonna go with Newbert. Then I found out Newbert's not coming back. So I can't root for him now because he's going to run some other silly series on Monday nights. But he'll be running Xfinity on Tuesdays, I think, so I hope so. I hope he does. He's a hell of a driver. Hopefully he'll come back and run Xfinity. But no, I think Bobby Hall gets it done tonight, man. I think Bobby Hall, Keith, I love you, man. I don't know. I should have probably that's probably where my money would have went if I was betting on this is on Keith, because I know I've seen how much practice the dude puts in, but I want to root for the underdog. And Newbert was my original underdog pick, but I'm going to pick Bobby Hall, who's looking pretty strong here lately. And I've practiced with him and I saw how fast Bobby's gotten. So Bobby Hall gets it done. Since I couldn't have Justin, damn it. That brings us over to the Xfinity picks. Who do you think is going to get it done in Xfinity?
Justin Winters is going to win the race. We're going to have a non-title contender win the race. Justin Winters is going to win the race, and we're going to see Brandon Robertson win the entire thing for the championship.
Brandon Robertson going to win the championship. I'm going to go with my boy Scott Fritz. I believe Scott gets it done. Brandon was my pick. For fuel mileage, if it's a fuel mileage race, I would say Brandon gets it done. Radburn, damn, he's going to be tough to beat, man. Radburn is going to be a tough sumbitch to beat. I'm just going to tell you, and so is James. But I got to go with my boy Scott. He's my right hand man in the league. Helps me out a ton. Gets stuff done. So I'm gonna go with my boy Scott and hope that he brings it home and brings the bacon in for us, so to speak. And that moves us over to Cup Series. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one, and I'm going to pick Mikey to win this one.
Dang, you stole my pick.
I knew you were going to pick yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to abstain from this one since you're a driver, that's perfectly fine.
You know what? Yeah, I don't know really who to pick here. It's gonna be. I mean,
a good battle, I know you don't want to root against yourself, so
yeah.
And you don't want to, potentially jinx yourself. So
obviously, I want myself to win, but I'm gonna pick Gabe, Alex, Cedric, or Mikey. One of those 4 is gonna win the championship.
That works for me, man. That works for me. I definitely am looking forward to a Wednesday night, and I'm really pumped for tonight as well. Don't forget, guys, these races are 100% length and 100% fuel. So long races, anything can happen. And yeah, so I want to say thank you to our sponsors, which include Kinder Performance Group. TFM presents Majula C Speed Shop. That's Chris Ferguson Motorsports presents Majula C Speed Shop. Red Rocket Buildings and Barbecue, Huffman Designs, Scott Fritz Designs, Roasted Gems Coffee, Butt Kicker. That was the one I was forgetting. So, and big thanks to UDTV for doing all the broadcasts. Those guys have come a long way and are doing a phenomenal, amazing job. But yeah, man, I'm pumped. I'm ready for this. This is championship week. I'm going to get this edited out and get it sent over to the podcast for you guys to listen to. So you'll be hearing my voice in just a little bit, and let me know what you guys think in the comments. Leave us a voice message on Anchor. That's a feature that is available. I turned it on the other day. I didn't know I didn't have it on, but I did turn it on. You can go to the leave a message feature on Anchor FM, anchor.fm, and leave us a voice message, and we'll listen to that. And we love to hear from you guys, and look forward to reading your comments once this is up on the YouTube channel. So for Mikey Neal, I'm Jason Collins, and signing off this week. This is Bluegrass Race Hub.